Hello, I'm Jessica. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time watching any of my videos. I make content about spirituality, black culture, and life. And if you like that kind of stuff, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. I've been away for a couple weeks, well, several weeks, because we've just had all kind of things going on. We just came through the winter storm that hit the South. So I'm back. I'm just now feeling up to working and filming again, so you will be getting more videos from me really soon. But if you're not subscribed, there's a chance you might miss them, so go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Judas and the Black Messiah, giving you my thoughts and expectations. Did it meet them? I'll be giving you all of that, so stay tuned. Now, on to the review. Judas and the Black Messiah. Phenomenal movie. This will maybe have spoiler alerts, maybe. But before I saw the film, I did have somewhat of an issue with Daniel Kaluuya. Excuse me if I'm not pronouncing it right. I had a little bit of an issue with him appearing as Fred Hampton, him being cast in that role. And you know, people were kind of going back and forth about it online, but I just feel like black people, and I've talked about this a lot in my live streams, we're not noticing how our position is worsening in America. And though Daniel is black, his culture is totally different. He identifies with a culture that is unlike ours. And so to have him play a black American legend, black American hero, I just feel like there are plenty of actors that maybe we've seen or have not seen that could have done that. And I just see this trend in a lot of British actors that are black having these roles. And I just feel like that's something that we cannot just look over, that there's something there, as there is with everything. Remember, America is a country of symbols, so all of that matters. But besides that, that was like my main issue going into this. But besides that, he was great. He was great, you know, and I think he's an amazing actor. So two things can be true at the same time. Not taking away anything from him, but I'm making another point. But I think he was great, despite that. The opening music, the horns, that creepy, suspenseful music that they used when Lakeith, who played William O'Neill, Bill O'Neill, his character, when he was going into the pool hall impersonating an officer, I thought it was just amazing how the horns were from that time period, you know, what you would normally hear from music in that time period, but it still felt modern with the drums in it. I love that. And I'll bring up something about that later. When Daniel came in as Fred, I'm looking at my notes here. My main critique with his performance, and it's not really a critique as it is something that just didn't go over well for me the first time I watched it, is his version of Fred Hampton's dialect. I found it very hard to understand what he was saying most of the time. So when I went back and I listened to Fred Hampton actually speak, he nailed it. He nailed it, but it was difficult to understand what he was saying. So the second time I watched it, I had to watch it with the subtitles on. One of the quotes that really pulled me in, and I have thought about it since watching the movie, was the quote about information being raw materials for new ideas. I love that Fred Hampton, as well as the others that were in the Black Panther Party, really stressed political education, and they stressed their education from being a black person first. You know, caring for your people first, having a sense of community first, trying to undo all the uplift, suasion, and assimilation that was put on, you know, black people, and that destroyed our community. He was trying to undo that in a way, and and help them to understand who the real enemy was. And I love that. I love that quote, and it's something that I am going forward going to live by. I thought it was interesting how they showed the women who were part of the movement. A lot of the people that I've seen review this movie, they have not really liked the idea that the women weren't shown enough. They feel like they could have shown more of the women, and I agree. But I think the way that they allowed the women of the movement to be seen was critical for I guess putting it into today's context, which is what I like to do with these kind of things. The women were volunteering their time, volunteering their attention to help actually keep the organization going. So they were at the breakfast programs. You know, the men were serving food, but the women were there nurturing the children. They were, taking notes and developing what is it? Campaign slogans, taglines. We saw that with the woman who actually got recruited. So I think that the way that they showed them was great, and it made me wonder, what does that look like for us today? Do we volunteer our time and hearts to a cause that's greater than ourselves anymore? I feel like we, and myself included at times, we spend a lot of our time trying to get to our bag, right? Trying to improve our situation, but we're not really giving our time and attention and our hearts to our communities as a whole like we should, like we've seen. I was really, really inspired to do more. I was really inspired to learn more. It was a, I won't say a reality check or wake up call. It wasn't any of that because I'm very aware and very, politically astute, but it was a charge. I say that it was a charge, and it really made me feel like, you know what, forget what the obstacle is. I want to be remembered like they are being remembered. I want to be someone who can say that I was a revolutionary, that I was for my people. I pledge allegiance to my Black people. I want people to be able to say that about me. When O'Neal was approached by the FBI agent, did you notice, if you watched this, the questions that he asked him? He asked him, well, how do you feel about Martin Luther King being assassinated? How do you feel about Malcolm X? And I feel like those questions were a test. I feel like the movie put that there on purpose because it was almost like he was trying to feel him out. Like, would he even do what I'm about to ask him to do? And I think those questions were a test. And because his answers were really ambivalent, like, I mean, I was upset, but I ain't really think about it. They'd show him, oh, he's not into the revolution like Hampton is, so we can use him. And there's something to be said and learned about that. This is why you need to know what's going on. This is why you need to be invested in your community, because had he been like Fred, had he been down for the cause of trying to make our community better, yeah, he might have been a target, but he's a target anyway as a Black man. He would have been one that they couldn't have even put in a position where you have to be an informant for your own people. They wouldn't have even tried you. So I think that was very important, and I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that, but I wanted to touch on that. And when he kept telling him, the Panthers are just like the KKK, they're one and the same. It is so interesting, and it's just really psychotic, to be honest, how white supremacist, nationalist-minded individuals try to make their fight our fight. Like, no, they're not the same at all. And I think that narrative has continued up until now, where people are becoming more aware of who the Black Panthers really were. I was familiar with the Black Panther Party, but I was not very familiar with Fred Hampton himself. I knew him as a figure, as a part of a larger group, but not so much him as himself. And so I'm saying that to say, when you have a generation of Black people who don't really know these things, that's how narratives can continue. So we have to always be able to call things out and call them what they are. I've just seen a wave, a shift in the way that people view America, and people eyes are being opened. And I think we can continue to do more of that and more and more. And that's when we'll start being able to see some change, some monumental change, not symbolic, but something that's very real and tangible. We'll be able to see these ideas shift, Black people being empowered and feeling comfortable to just tell the truth. I'm a truth teller, so I really, really, really appreciate the work that they did, that foundation, the blueprint that they gave us. And now it's up to us to continue going on. There was a scene in the movie when he went to visit the white folks that had the Confederate flags and they were talking. How did that look similar to the insurrection for you? Love Fred Hampton, all of that. But I don't agree with bringing in other groups. That doesn't mean I hate them, because I don't. I'm Black first. And until my community gets what we are owed, till we are compensated either by means of reparations or until we see policies change, I can't really attach myself to what Hispanics are going through with immigration. I can't attach myself to what poor white people are going through. My group has been oppressed for 400 plus years. Never really free from slavery. Slavery just changed what it looked like. So I can't do all that. And it's never going to work just because of racism. If it would have worked, we wouldn't have been where we are now, because those teams, those outside groups would have come to our defense. You get what I'm saying? That it never works the other way around. Let's say we're teaming up with all these different groups. Imagine if we get reparations, what those groups would do. So that in itself, the fact that people like Barack Obama, people like who's the other all these people who are against reparations, Black folks, Black face people against reparation, they're saying some of their talking points are, well, how are other immigrants gonna feel that you got help that they didn't get? And that all of that is by design. It's part of a narrative. So when we attach ourselves to fight for immigration for them, fight for the dreamers, they're getting what they need. But where are we? Our issues always get pushed further and further back. So that is something that I just don't agree with. And then you have to look at it. Are those other groups' leaders being killed? Fred Hampton was assassinated. What about the Latina gang and then the white people? Were their leaders being targeted and assassinated like that? That's really something to pay attention to. And there is a message there for us now. I will further say that I have evidence that I'm right on this, because the different reviews that I've seen of this movie, particularly those from white film critics, they're all saying, oh, we need unity, and this just goes to show that we can all work together. And it's like that's proven that is what people are taking from it. Nobody's thinking about the fact that Fred Hampton was the only one assassinated from the group. No one's thinking about how the Black Panthers headquarters was set on fire by the police. Those other groups, yeah, they're getting killed because they're gangs. They're not being treated equally either, but they are not being targeted like Black people. There's no other group that fits the same description as Black people in terms of what America has done or has not done. No other group. And we lose that when we focus on the unity aspect of it. You cannot have unity when there is still inequality. It just does not work, because within the groups of marginalized people, there is still a hierarchy there. I'm going to talk more about this on my discussion with the book club that I run. You can go back through some of my videos and see past discussions. But I want to talk about that because it's at a point where if we don't know how to speak up to it and directly address it, we're not going to ever have the opportunity to do it again. I don't know if you all are familiar with the term book breaking. Book breaking was something that happened to African American male slaves, where they would be raped by the slave owners, sometimes other slaves, they would do this publicly in front of the women and children, and it was a means of control and humiliation. And now that takes on other forms, like what we've seen with Nick Cannon, what the media has tried to do to LeBron over and over and over. The modern day book breaking looks different. And so Fred being arrested at the breakfast program while the children were there, while the women were there, off of a bogus charge, that is an example of them showing him, you don't run nothing. We'll come snatch you up at any moment, whenever we want to, and we'll make up a reason why we did it. And doing it in front of the children, what does this show the children? How does that affect the children emotionally? What does that do to the women who now then have to be stressed about taking care of the children because of what they just saw? This thing is sinister. And it also goes to show that there will never be a right way to fight for the black community. Ever. There will never be a right way to do it, because you are feeding children and they go and say, oh, well, he stole some of the ice cream. There'll never be a right way to do it. So what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for to fight for the community? You can't live a certain way. You're black first. And so you have to move that way, and not from a position of feeling defeated and feeling like, oh, well, I can't be me. I can't wear this. I can't say this. I need to be professional. I need to not do this or let people see me do this. I can't call this out. It don't matter, because they will find a reason if they want or need a reason. And if you think about this whole situation with Fred, American government of every level, they don't care if innocent people have to go for them to get what they want. If Fred Hampton, who was innocent, had to die so they could keep their power and not so that black people could not be mobilized, they didn't care. So they show you what really that's the whole importance of Black Lives Matter. All of that. In terms of O'Neal, it was a lesson of, you really have to be careful who you're around. And I was just talking to Tony about this too, that a person can have a black face but not have a black voice. They're not trying to amplify black voices. They just look black and they benefit from being black, but they don't really want to fight on behalf of the collective because they're so concerned with self. And the thing about William O'Neal, Lakeith did such a wonderful job in showing how O'Neal wasn't necessarily conflicted about this. And if you'll watch the one interview that he did do for the Eyes on the Prize documentary, when he was in the blue suit that they kind of reenacted, he was very flippant. And Lakeith captured that so well. He was the puppet of a puppeteer, which was the American government, right? So I think that as mad as I was with him when I found out that he was a teenager between the age of 17 and 19, I'll put in the comments what his verified age was at the time. But think about that. We don't know what we would do if we were in that position as a 17-year-old. Remember the questions that he asked him. He already wasn't really engaged in the fight, right? Now he out here robbing his fellow community members, which was a problem. They used that and turned it against him. He was a kid and he was a victim. If we, you know what I'm saying? Like, just being real, he was a victim. And so even just the use of a black face to tear down a black organization goes to show the lengths that this government and this system went through and are still going through to destroy black movements, black grassroots movements. They will do anything. And so a lot of people throw out, and I've said this before and I stand by it, do I have a victim mentality like the whole world owes me something because I was born black? No. But we are victims of a system that was never designed to view us as equal. We are victims now. But where they have succeeded, and why I say slavery is no longer physical, it's mental, it's making you feel like even saying that and making that point is wrong. to where you don't say it. That you now have a shame. You know, you're now ashamed of that. That goes back to how we were taught about Black history in school. All of this stuff is by design. And so we have to remember, as difficult as it was to accept what O'Neal did, he was a victim too. But then burning down the headquarters after the shootout, there was an example of white rage. I don't know if you've ever heard that book. At some point in the UABBC, we're going to read White Rage. That was an example of any type of progress that Black people make. There's a form of white rage that comes and destroys it. So you have, like, when Black people had their own version of Wall Street in Tulsa, bombed. Free breakfast program, Black Panther Party, FBI infiltrated it, bombed. And so when you see that they created a headquarters, a meeting space, a gathering place, they bombed it. So that was just an example of their white rage. Every time Black people have progression. Donald Trump, him becoming president, that's white rage in response to Obama. Even though Obama wasn't team Black, he was a Black face, that still was retaliation for that. I actually cried when Daniel gave the I Am a Revolutionary speech after Fred come out of jail. And I cried because when you hear what he's saying and you feel it, because it's so relevant today, and it should not be, but because it is, you can't really separate what he was referring to back then and what you feel right now. And it made me feel anger because the American government really killed all our heroes. America has always been afraid of Black people coming together. And it just made me cry because those Black men loved us so much. Martin, Malcolm, they loved us so much. They literally gave their lives for us. And so the use of the Black Messiah is, you couldn't use another metaphor. These men were Christ-like figures who died for us. And they destroyed them and destroyed our movements. And it's really evil. It's evil, it's sick, it's psychotic, it's deranged, it's demonic. And Reverend Wright, Jeremiah Wright, who Obama distanced himself from, he was right. Goddamn America. America going straight to hell. It's a lot of people who are going to have to answer for this evil atrocity that has been done to Black people. And I'm never going to be bothered by someone feeling like we can't talk about that. That's not my problem. It happened and it's real. And the problem is that we're not talking about it enough. And we're not talking about it the way it needs to be talked about. We got the wrong people talking about it. We got celebrities and athletes trying to talk about it. And that's another story. I'm wondering if they were implying a relationship between Jimmy Palmer and the guy who went out like Scarface, you know, because he was trying to find answers for how Jimmy died. It seemed like they were implying a romantic relationship that was supposed to be secret. I could be wrong. I have not looked into this, but I just got that feeling watching them. And then when that happened, when he was so emotional about Jimmy's death, that really made me be like, hold on, I think they're saying something without saying something. And if you go back and look, you'll see how they had them sitting together in the car and the woman was on the outside where normally you would see the woman in the middle. It was just small little things, how he was sitting together at the workshop. And they could have been best friends, but they didn't show them interacting like a best friend would. Jamie actually didn't say much at all. And the other guy was kind of made him seem very childlike. So I don't know. Did anybody else pick up on that? That's what I was feeling as I was watching. If you can watch this movie and still not feel like something got to change, you need to really go do some soul searching. This movie just makes it plain what every Black activist has been saying. Every revolutionary Black activist. Not these people in Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and them, and not them. The actual people who are saying what needs to be said to the people that they need to say it to when that opportunity arises. this stuff is nothing new. And America ain't stupid. America know what it's done. It's nothing new to America either because they wrote the playbook. Now going on to the actual assassination, it was very reminiscent of Breonna Taylor. If you want to imagine how Breonna Taylor felt, that was probably the closest you're gonna get to watching it. Even just thinking about it now, I heard this man that was reviewing this movie say, you know, like, I was angry watching this. Like, you feel all these emotions, and then you see critics saying, oh, this is powerful. It's a must-see, it's this. It's like, what's entertaining and powerful for you is that for me, but it's also traumatic for me. Because we live in this, not you, you know. So as powerful it is for you, what do you think it feels like for it to be powerful and still be living it and be trying to articulate it, but people ain't listening and ain't doing nothing? How do you think that feels? So these films are necessary, but they are also traumatic. Dr. Joy DeGruy, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She wrote a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder. And we're definitely going to read that book as part of the book club. But it kind of, it talks all about the trauma, the generational trauma that actually is within our DNA. It became part of our DNA. Trauma is inherited. And when did Black people get mental health, therapy? When did Black people get therapy after slavery? The government owes us that at a minimum. So this stuff is generational. And I brought that up when I'm thinking about, me watching it and thinking about Breonna Taylor, who was killed in her sleep while she was in the bed. You know, you go to bed for the night, dreaming about what you're going to do tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. You know? But think about her boyfriend who was there with her. And look at Deborah, Fred Hampton's pregnant girlfriend. The trauma that she went through that was passed on to her baby. How you're standing there knowing they're walking into the room where the father of your child, the man that you are in love with, is sleeping. They're in there with their guns. They done already bum rush you. You standing there. You know he's about to die. You can't even look at him, can't hug him, can't kiss him, can't wake him up, can't tell him you love him. You can't do none of that. You got to listen to them put a bullet in his brain. But you're pregnant and you're hearing this, knowing your child will not have their father. Knowing that the movement lost its leader. William O'Neal. If you notice the last scenes, and this is where I want to bring up the horn, how the horn started playing when Lil Rel, the pimp character, when he handed him his ID that he used to fake. I thought it was genius that they put the same horns there because it gave you that same feeling. But O'Neal, he thought he was equal to the FBI. Like, you could tell he thought he was a big dog, you know, like that they viewed him as a man. And they didn't at all. You know, but he likened himself to them. And I loved how the pimp just really burst that bubble. Again, white supremacy is evil. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about O'Neal himself. Because I don't care. If you're 17, you can't say what you would or wouldn't do. And you did it, you might as well stand in it. Because that's what people view you as anyway. I mean, he couldn't live with himself. And I'm sure he was haunted by Fred in the memory of that. My final rating is 5 out of 5 stars. It was a wonderful movie. Despite the trauma and emotions I felt, it was a wonderful movie. And it just, again, made me really sad that they killed our heroes. I don't think I could ever get over that. I don't think I can ever forgive America for that. I don't think I can ever pledge allegiance to the American flag. I don't think I can ever sing the national anthem. I don't think I can do any of that. Because this country's not mine. It wasn't made for me. It don't really even want me here. It's just dealing with me. And so many of us are just dealing with that fact and not saying, look, let's do something different. We ain't got to do this. Yeah, we're still oppressed. We are still oppressed. This is very much a 2021 movie as it was a 1960s movie. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts about Judas and the Black Messiah in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this and conversations like this. If you want to support more content like this, please consider becoming a patron. You can see all the information in the description box. And I will see you guys in the next video.